What do you get when you mix pop culture, such as video games, with art? Well, you might get Hugo Pereira Art. And this week, we're going to talk with him personally to get to know the man behind the art.
Pour the coffee.
Top of the mustache to you, and welcome to a special episode of Mustaches and Coffee. Where the topic goes, nobody knows. I'm Isaac.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Hugo.
And we're glad to have all you mustache and coffee lovers with us. Welcome, Hugo. It is great to have you with us this week. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm said that I kind of shaved up a little bit to meet my girlfriend's parents this past weekend. Otherwise, I should have kept my mustache a little thicker for the show. But, know that as much as I appreciate coffee, I do appreciate mustaches.
Awesome. We knew we had the right guest on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's terrific. So we're so happy to have you on. And how are you doing, Ben? I have to make sure to ask you, how are you?
I'm doing good. We had a power surge recently, and I had to find a part for my washing machine to fix it. It's working. So, yeah. Other than that, just not a whole lot. But, yeah, my wife's happy. She can wash clothes now. I don't want to say that too loud.
Yeah, you got to have clean clothes. So that's great. I'm glad everything's on the up end for you. And I'm doing pretty well myself. So we're just excited to have you with us, Hugo, because we met a few months ago at a special convention, and we kept talking about it'd be great to have you on. So here we are. We're so happy to have you with us. So we're just going to jump into this interview, just get to know you a little bit. So we might start with a question. When it comes to art, where did you get your beginnings? Like, when was this a time that you thought, oh, this is something I could do professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I've drawn ever since I was a kid, literally like the earliest thing that I could do, I was drawing. I remember my parents had like those fax machines, and they had like those papers that were like all connected. So it's like one endless like ream of paper. And I would just be pulling and drawing in this like almost like medieval scroll of just kid scribbles. But wasn't until like I was like 14, 15 years old that my mom got me for my birthday like a digital drawing tablet that I didn't even know those things existed. Like this like 2007. And I was like, whoa, like I always liked computer and video games, and I always liked drawing, and then like being able to marry the two was like mind blowing. So I started like sketching, drawing my favorite video games, posting like the very terrible art at the beginning online, but getting feedback, looking up tutorials. And then I think it was like my senior year of high school, or no, second to last year of high school. And out of nowhere, there's a store from Australia that sold a bunch of like anime figurines and video game merch. They reached out to me and like, hey, like, do you wanna like draw or window like a bunch of like illustrations for us to put up? I was like, yeah. And then we talked, and then like I think I made like 500 Australian dollars. And for a kid in high school, like making that money, you're like, I'm rich. So I was like, okay, I guess I can make money out of my art. And I'm originally from Brazil, so this all happened while in Brazil, which means like, the Australian dollars converted to Brazilian reais was even more. And that's when I was like, okay, let me look into this. And then I decided to like, whenever I Googled something in English, I would always get more result. So I'm like, illustration college, enter. And then I came about with a college that's pretty close here to Cincinnati, coincidentally enough, the Columbus College of Art and Design. Talk to them like with a very broken English, like meters and Eugene, like, oh, can international students study abroad too? And they're like, yes. And they kind of like guided me through the process. I applied to a bunch. But eventually, I didn't come to the Columbus College of Design. Came to SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design, and that's when I got really, professional with all the art.
Very cool. Awesome. My
Awesome.
my father actually went to CCAD, so I was about to say rock
Hmm,
on there, but I guess you didn't.
close,
You came close. Okay.
but not quite. Yeah, yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
Very nice. So, like, we see a lot in your background. You have like Nintendo and some other stuff. So, do you have like a artist or a influence? Like, what influences your art? Is there like a go to
There's a
thing you have?
couple. I think like it the subject is always very much influenced by whatever I'm currently playing or consuming, in the media. Like right now, I'm doing a big detour into dark fantasy type of art because I'm playing Elden Ring and getting like really into that creepy, crazy worlds. But in terms of big artist inspiration, I really love Nicholas Cole. He's a concept artist and art director. Uh, Worked famously on the latest Spyro remakes and Crash 4. I think he's an amazing character artist, and he's doing like a deep dive on all the art that he's been working on a game for the last 3 years that got canceled. And unfortunately, sad for that, but he's been just like, you know what? Since this game is not showing up, we got the thumbs up to show all the 3 years worth of art that we made, and he's just doing like a big blast of all that in social media. So
Oh,
that's a
cool.
big influence. And Derek Loffman is an illustrator, cartoonist that I really like his stylized, chunky characters, good like pen work. And Lucas Penador, who's another great artist that has a bunch of great resources on his Gumroad of the different brushes that he uses for digital artists. So those are probably like some of the top of mind that I pull from influences. But it's like asking my favorite game. Other than these top three, the 7 to 10 are always changing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Very
that's
nice.
really cool, and you have such a unique style. I think it just really draws you in, and, you have your own Instagram account, so, when it comes to, your art, where can people kinda look for you? Are you mostly like an online, or do you have any, we mentioned meeting at the convention, do you do those, or any brick and mortar places you go to?
Yeah. The Cincinnati, the Super Cincy Expo, was actually my first ever convention that I
Oh, yeah.
tabled at. So there was like me testing the waters. I've just applied before this call to the Cincinnati Comics Expo in October. So
Yep.
Oh,
hopefully I'll be there. I applied for a couple more during the middle of the year, but unfortunately didn't get in. It's always like a little bit of a snowball effect. It's hard to get started on those, but as you're getting more, you start getting more and more. So hopefully, next year I'll be doing more conventions, but that is something that I'd like to do. My Instagram is probably where I'm like the most online and where you can see my art most updated. And right there on my profile at hugop.arts, you'll be able to see my link three with all the other socials where I'm also at, and my online print shop. I used to sell here in Cincinnati in a store, Cosmic Gorilla, but unfortunately they recently closed. Like last
oh,
weekend was their goodbye. Will be missed,
man.
but you can still get my prints online through my bio on Instagram.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Then just mostly online is what you prefer at the moment
Yeah.
anyway. Okay,
Yeah, and hopefully more cons, in the second half of this year and through 2025.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually planning on being there. As you see, there's a helmet behind me, something I'm
Yeah,
working on.
Rocketeer.
So I will actually be there. And yeah, I got some other projects that, yeah, I don't want to spoil it. It's kind of cool. It's
Ooh.
kind of big going. So do you have any favorite go-to art supplies? Like ones like
Ooh.
pencils, like, oh, I have to have this pencil or I have to have this one thing.
Yeah, there I do. I do a lot of digital art too, but I also do a lot of traditional art. So like right here's my digital art setup. I have a different table right to the side with all my traditional art equipment. I love inking traditionally. So even for my digital pieces, I sketch and I ink them traditionally. I scan and then I color digitally. And there's this pen called Zebra Pen that you can get on Amazon. That is this brush pen that is just so good. It's very flexible. You can control the thickness of the line really well, but it's not too sensitive, so you can apply quite a lot of pressure before you get the thick line. So you don't have to be like super soft with your hand. So I that's probably like one of my favorite art supplies at the moment.
Wow.
Very
I
nice.
don't I didn't even know that existed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Those technically like they fall under the category of Japanese brush pens, which have
Oh,
a varying degree of intensity and variations. But the zebra pen, Japanese brush pen, is one of my favorites.
very nice. That's cool. That's something you learn every day. That's something else to add on. So a lot of your art, we've talked about a little bit. It's video game centered. We've had a lot of episodes that center around video games, Nintendo kind of specifically. But I have to ask, like, what you just even said. It's a hard question to answer, but just even a few of your favorites. Don't have to be your absolute favorite. What are like some
Yeah.
influences or a series you like?
Um, a big favorite of mine is Professor Layton. It's a bit of a not as known these days, but it was very popular on the Nintendo DS era. It's a British archaeologist, kind of like a British Indiana Jones almost, that solves puzzles, and there's always these really convoluted stories with like a plot twists at the end, and
Huh.
it's the really great stories with a lot of puzzles throughout. So those always piqued my interest. So and the third game in the series specifically, Unwound Future, is probably like top of my list. And
Huh.
then another weird pick, which would be my second pick, it's Ace Attorney, which is a
Oh yeah.
series of like lawyer games. When you're just finding evidence and trying to, hear witnesses' testimonies and things that contradict with the evidence and point them out. And then number three, it's an indie darling called Hollow Knight. It's a little bug in a Metroid type game that's very kind of creepy world that's been like worn down, and you're getting new powers and discovered what happened. And then getting a little more, traditional, probably Super Mario Galaxy 2 specifically, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So like the most recent Donkey Kong game are both
Yeah.
there, very high up there. So I think like those are my top five. And then fluctuating in the periphery, we might have like some Kingdom Hearts, some Mega Man,
Oh yeah.
and some other games.
Very nice. That's a nice mixture, and I can totally see your style, your influence, and you've kinda done your own, like, you mentioned Mario Galaxy, you kinda do a really cool 3D model, kind of the overall game. I think that's really cool. Yeah, just your style, it's very unique, it's very, uh, homegrown, it's just something you don't really see a lot of, so we really appreciate your art on that end. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, we have you on as an artist, so we thought we'd do something a little bit special. We thought, what if you did a fun little character of us? Is that something you can do? And with the technology we have, we can actually see it happen as you do it. So is that something you don't mind doing?
Heck yeah, let's get into it.
Look at that. You've got it all pulled up,
So
ready to go.
you've mentioned the little 3D like drawings that I do. I'm big into this isometric perspective, right?
Yeah.
You'd have a lot of old school games that had like this sort of perspective that you see things always from this top down angle and you'd explore the worlds. And there's something junky, something cozy about those perspectives, and that's why I love doing that. And as a big Nintendo fan, I love my mascots like Mario and Yoshi and all that jazz. So I figured for today, why not like kind of mix that together, create a
Sounds
little
terrific.
uh you know potentially the most iconic mustache with some coffee to go, as a little, game character for the show almost.
Oh, that's terrific.
That'd be awesome.
You just make this look so easy because I remember drawing back when I, had more time when I was younger, but you just make it look so easy. That's so fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, it's the beauty is that there's no secret. It really is just practice, like I've been drawing for I'm like almost 30 years, been drawing since I was a kid, so 25, but really like let's say like 10 years, the past 10 years, when I first went to college till now, like drawing consistently.
Yeah.
Uh, and if after 10 years drawing consistently, I'm not good, then I should probably find a different line of work.
No, that's awesome. I love it. It's so cool to see it together. Did you ever watch like Bob Ross? I would imagine you watch Bob Ross and that kind
Oh
of stuff.
yeah, for sure. It's so easy, chill going. I actually had a very fun date one time where we did a thing called like sip and paint, where we put some Bob Ross and we're following along, drinking some wine. And it was really fun.
Yeah. I just know if you have any like catchphrases, that feels like you should have like, happy little trees. That's what he would used to say.
Yeah, no little mistake, right? It just becomes a bird. Uh, no, I should have a catchphrase, but I don't think my branding is as on point as Bob Ross's.
It's all good. No, that's the feels I'm getting though. That's so awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Make
So, like, somebody who's starting drawing, like, do you have any tips for them other than just draw, draw, draw?
For sure. I think the main thing is, what I kind of compare to like eat your vegetables, which means when we're drawing, a lot of the times we draw the things that we want to draw. So I started drawing a lot of video game characters, or cartoon characters, and copying them, and that is 1000% fine. Draw what excites you to draw. Draw the subject of the things you like to draw, but try to push yourself to draw the things you don't know how to draw, right? So let's say I'm someone who really struggles with anatomy and realistic characters. Then I might want to pick up, but I also love video games, or I really love anime. Then I might try and draw one of my anime characters, like shirtless, so I can practice the anatomy. Like Dragon Ball Goku, with the ripped shirt after being beaten up. That will force me to study something beyond just drawing, because that's the difference between practice and intentional practice. When you're just practicing your drawing, without necessarily thinking about what you want to improve, or what are you testing out of your skills, which is fine. It just means you're going to take longer to develop your skill set. If you're being intentional about what you're trying to learn, is it perspective, is it anatomy, is it silhouettes, is it lighting and shadows, all that will inform and help you grow faster.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I just like, for whatever reason, when you were talking, I pictured like shirtless Mario, like as a lifeguard, just like ripped.
I thought you were gonna say an anime.
Yeah, like Peach is drowning. I'll save you.
I'm sure there's a video out there of that
Oh,
anime
I'm sure.
Mario style, but it's Dragon Ball Z. And
He's got the hair.
Gotta have
and
that chest hair. He's a true Italian.
yeah. And you said you're from Brazil, so
Yes.
any
Long
kind
ways
of
home.
any kind of influences there as well? I mean, video games, and you mentioned your influences there, but was there a lot of that culture that you
um,
kinda incorporated it too?
yeah. So this, was the interesting thing where I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for video games and growing up in Brazil, because um, back when I was young, games weren't translated into Portuguese. They were only in English. So that's actually how I learned
Mm. Oh, nice.
English, was by playing video games, specifically Pokemon. Uh, I had like my Game Boy in one hand. I still have it right here. My
Look at
old
that.
school
Oh yeah,
uh,
I had the
Game
same one.
Boy.
I mean, not that one, but
Um,
Very nice.
and it was it and my Pokemon Yellow card, and English Portuguese dictionary on the other hand. and that kind of like helped me learn English. But unfortunately, both the game market and the digital art area weren't as developed when I was getting ready for college. It has grown a lot now in the last like 10, 15 years, um, but not when I was getting ready to specialize and get into the workforce. So that's why I ended up coming here. Now there's some great studios, one of which that I really enjoy called Aquiris. They've made a game called Horizon Turbo, and they're a big inspiration for some projects that I'm actually doing on my day-to-day job. I work on at a company that does a lot of game and game-like experiences, and the folks from Aquiris who recently got bought by Epic, so now they're Epic Brazil and work on Fortnite.
Yeah.
But those are some great folks and a good example of Brazilian game scene.
Okay.
Very
That,
nice.
that- that's so cool. Yeah, that you learned a language. That's one thing you don't think about with video games, and especially Pokemon with all the text that you have to read. It's a
Mm-hmm.
must because my kids love Pokemon, but unfortunately, my younger ones can't really play it because you have to. The
Mm-hmm.
older ones, the new ones, you don't have to, but the ones you're talking about, yeah, you had to be able to read to understand your progress and what you're doing when there's battle and so on and so forth. So that's really fascinating. I love little details like that, especially in your situation where, like you said, that you kind of look back like, wow, what would I have done without video games in a way? That's really
Yeah.
cool.
It's interesting that recently I've come full circle because um, with the recent Pokemon games, I've beaten them, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I beat
Mm.
Pokemon Scarlet, and I've been recently learning German. So when I started a new gameplay on Pokemon Violet, I switched it to German so I could practice my German and learn a new language once again through Pokemon.
Very
That's
nice.
amazing.
If you get a good hit on a player, does it say das gut?
Ja, sehr gut.
I
Sehr
took
effective.
I had for some odd reason in middle school they had a German course, and the only thing I can remember was I think it's the apple pie or the apple cake is our special today, and it's der Apfelkuchen ist besonders gut heute.
There you go.
I don't know why, of all things, that's what I remembered, but, there's Guten Tag, obviously, say hello,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah, it's funny how some random sentences stick to your brain. I had a couple, like I had a 2 months of French, and the only thing that I remember is "Quel âge avez-vous?" Like, how old are you? That's
oh,
the only thing.
that's still that could be, I don't know how, the apple cake is our special today is gonna help me out if I'm in Germany, but, maybe you have to
Just need
ask
to find
someone.
a German bakery now.
Or if you get a server job in a German dessert restaurant.
That's right. Maybe I'll be on hard times and I have to go work in Germany at a bakery. I can just say the same thing over and over again each day. I'm really digging the style there. Yeah, you got the
That's awesome.
gloves and it looks like almost the Mario Odyssey vibes. It looks like he captured a coffee cup.
So if anybody
Yeah.
is wanting to get into digital art, is there any programs you recommend?
Yeah, so I am very much, adept at Photoshop. I have even created content for Photoshop, but I do understand that there's a little price barrier there, that, it's a monthly paid software that, not a lot of people can commit to, especially when they're learning. For someone who wants something a little bit more, on the cheaper side, there's one called Clip Studio Paint that is really good. It's often on sale. It's a single purchase software. A lot of times, between like you can get it between 20 and $40. And it has pretty much all the drawing capabilities of Photoshop. And it's a really good place to get started. So I definitely recommend. And then if you want to eventually graduate into drawing on Photoshop and all of that, like the good things that there's so many tutorials and resources for Photoshop because it is the industry standard. And then if you do have an iPad Pro specifically, the Procreate app, which I think is like $10, is an excellent drawing tool. In certain aspects, I'll say it even supersedes Photoshop.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Photoshop is kind of the gold standard. There's just been so many applications and programs that have come along. It's impressive, actually, when you look at it. So that's like I mentioned, my father went to CCAD, and I actually helped him because he started his own business, and he would have me do a lot of the lasso tool, cutting out certain images for clients that he had. So that was kind of my entry into it. Don't ask me to do anything too extensive, but I would just remember being blown away by Photoshop back then, and that would have been, goodness, like 20 years ago. So I'm sure you've seen. I mean, you're just doing it right now. This is awesome. This is like I'm blown away all the different features you're doing there. But you've probably seen how far it's come in your experience too.
Oh yeah, I've been using Photoshop. I want to say because Photoshop used to be numbered, and then it became the CS version, and then those were numbers, and now we're on CC, which is stands for their Creative Cloud. So gosh, yeah, like even thinking about the old Photoshop UI makes me nostalgic from back when I started. Never
Oh
thought
yeah,
I'd be nostalgic over a UI, but Photoshop certainly does it.
it really does. Yeah, that's awesome.
And there you go,
All right.
little coffee
That's awesome.
character.
That's so
Nice
cool.
little shadow effect. And
You just make it look so easy, but I love it. I love it. It's just great to see it all come together. Well,
nice.
we're gonna have to name them after you now. So, uh, and you're saying Hugo. Is that the correct way to say it? I apologize if I butchered your name.
That's the Americanized way. But in Brazil, the age is silent, so just go straight Hugo.
Hugo.
That's the Brazilian way.
I like that. What do you think, Ben? Should that be its name?
That sounds good. I like it.
Well, great.
Hugo it
Well,
is.
that's so cool. Thank you for that. That's
Might be
so.
the new mascot.
I think it is. Hugo. I'm all for it. I could watch you draw all day, but we appreciate your time and coming on. But now we'll kind of spin it a little bit differently. Get to know you personally. We got to know about your background in art, but we have what's called just universal questions. So I'll spin it over to Ben. Take it away.
All righty. Favorite movie line or general quote? Anything comes
Mm,
to mind?
favorite movie line or general quote? There's this quote that I love that people say a lot in the games industry that is actually misattributed, and most people don't know, but it's they misattributed to Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, and the quote is no, a rushed game is forever bad, but a delayed game is eventually good. He actually never said it. It was someone else called Chauvin Beeman. And there's this whole like article on critical.com about how does this misattribution came to be, but I love it because it's true for video games, but it's just true in life in general about, delayed gratification, like don't just rush it to finish, do the thing right. And because once it's done, that's what you're going to live with. So be sure to take your time.
I
Very
love it.
nice.
All right. Favorite food?
Fettuccine carbonara.
Mhm.
Love cooking, loving eating it.
That sounds yummy. I'm hungry.
Does sound good.
Favorite vacation?
Favorite vacation. Last year I got to visit one of my best friends from college who's also from Brazil. He's living in Portugal now. And I spent two weeks in Portugal with him, and then 2 weeks in Amsterdam with another friend of mine. And loved both cities. They're both super different, but love them for different reasons. And yeah, man, it rocked.
That sounds awesome. Favorite band?
Favorite band. It's a Brazilian singer. He does have an album that is all in English, but it's very different than his regular stuff. But his name is Renato Godá. or Renato Godot would probably be the Americanized way to say it. And but his really awesome. He has this like very folksy cabaret vibes, a lot of accordions and stuff, and it's very very unique. But definitely hit a chord with me.
That sounds awesome. Do you have a bucket list item? Something you want to do
Uh,
before you kick the bucket?
yeah, definitely. It's probably Japan. Hitting up
Okay.
Japan, spending some time there. Have a really good friend that's just spent like apparently in UK, like you can get like 3 months of paid vacation leave after like 3-4 years of work. Like I wish we
Really?
would do stuff like that, and I think it varies by company, but his company had that, and he just spent
Nice.
like 3 months traveling through Japan. I'm just like scrolling through my Instagram, seeing every day. I'm like, I wish.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's awesome. All right. So we are mustaches and coffee. So we have to ask you the questions. What's your
Yeah.
favorite mustache?
Oh, my favorite mustache, gotta be on brand with Nintendo, but specifically this little guy here, Waluigi's mustache, the iconic like upside down, W like wow. That's my favorite.
Awesome.
Oh, yes, and that's what you were dressed at the Super
Exactly.
Sentai, so
Yeah, yeah.
I was
It,
expecting it, but I was ready for a curveball, but you can't go wrong with
gotta
Waluigi.
keep it on brand. Bob Ross has Happy Little Trees. Ugo has Waluigi.
That's perfect. That's great. So, with that being said, of what's your favorite mustache, we have to obviously ask you what's your favorite coffee.
I was lucky enough to live for 10 years in a farm, and we had like very small things that we did that was just like for our own consumption, but we did plant a lot of coffee.
Mm.
And having our own homegrown coffee, sun dry them, pick them,
Oh,
roast them, separate the good beans from the bad beans, put them all in a big jar, and then every morning, like freshly ground, homemade, homegrown coffee, it is hard to compare.
oh, goodness, man, that
Wow.
that sounds just amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure you miss it then. That's
Oh, very much. And it was a sad reality because that's the coffee that I grew up with. So I thought that's
oh,
just
no.
coffee. And then I came to America and had my first Starbucks. And yeah,
Where's
let's leave it at
where,
that.
where's the coffee? It's all ice.
I was, like, going from this flavorful, just amazing to probably, like, mud, right? Just putting
Yeah.
mud in your cup.
What am I drinking? For my
Oh,
first whole year in America, I only drank mochas because there's so much stuff in it that I don't even consider it coffee anymore. It's a
yeah.
dessert.
Oh, that's awesome, but kinda sad. I'm sorry that you have to put up with our coffee here, because
Well, ever since I have found good places that have good coffees, I learned that Starbucks is
yeah.
not your only
No.
choice.
Yeah.
But as a recently arrived in the US college student with limited budget, it was either the cafeteria coffee or Starbucks. No fancy better coffee for me.
Well, kind of a sub added question. What would you consider good coffee? And it could just be something nobody's heard of, but what do you consider good coffee in your area?
Um, Honestly, the over a deeper roots, they sell their own beans, and I have found that I like most of their. I don't know if they sell online. So it might be good to check it out if they do. But if you're in the Cincy area, I can definitely recommend there, especially their Sumatra. And they're also very ethically sourced. They know the communities that grow these coffees. They know
Nice.
the specific farmers, so that's pretty awesome. There's one from Guatemala, one from Sumatra, one from Brazil. Little biased, but all of those. But it's also really the preparation. I think the main thing with uh, Starbucks is like how they overly roast all of their beans, right? And just to
Mhm.
keep the franchise consistency. So knowing how to do your coffee sometimes it's even more important than the beans because you can ruin great beans by overly using too high temperatures and whatnot. So
Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, just was curious since in the area you talked about campus, there's sure a bunch of coffee shops. So good to know if we
Oh,
were
for
in the
sure.
area. We'll
Mhm.
keep that in mind.
I want
Well,
coffee
Yeah.
now.
Also, Red Tree Gallery, amazing coffee right by Washington Park.
okay. I'm gonna
Nice.
make a note of that because from time to time we'll be in Cincinnati, but it's just from here and there. So I'll have to check those
Mm.
out. I'm gonna take your word for it more than the average coffee consumer that you had your
Appreciate
own. That's amazing. That's
it.
so
Awesome.
cool.
Wow.
Well, thank you again for coming on. That's
Yeah.
all the questions we have for you. So you're kind of off the hot seat now, so you can kind of breathe easy. But we want to thank you again for coming on. We know you with your artwork and everything. Take the time to schedule, but we appreciate it so much. We also love the new mascot. That was terrific.
Thanks. No, thanks for having me on. It was fun. Lots of laugh, lots of great conversation, and good coffees and mustaches.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move into our last segment.
Last drop.
Brought to you by
Sticker Mule. For high quality customizable stickers, go to our link to get a $10 credit on your first order.
Take it away, Ben.
Have you ever wanted to change your name? Have you ever wanted to change your name to literally anything else? Turns out you can't. 35-year-old Texas man named Dustin Eby legally changed his name to literally anything else. Who knows what he was thinking because he could have picked literally anything else. That's what I got.
Anything else? That's his first. Anything is his first name, and else his last name.
Literally anything else is his full name.
Oh, literally anything else.
Oh, literally is part of it.
Literally anything.
Literally anything else.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
So
I
if you
never
guys
thought.
could change your name, what would you change your name to? I have some ideas.
Oh, I gotta have Hugo have honors on that. What do you think?
Oh man. Something Hawk. Hawk is like a
Ooh.
strong, cool
Hawk.
name, you know. Hawk. I also cool animal, but
Yeah. You know what's so weird is I was thinking like an animal, some kind of animal, but I can't say exactly. Something like wolf would be pretty cool.
ooh.
Yeah.
The director of like all those, I think like CSI or criminal, like those
Oh,
procedural shows. I think his name is like Dick Wolf. That's a cool name.
Oh yeah.
there you go. I've heard like Wolfgang. I don't know if I want a Wolfgang. It still sounds cool, but I don't know if I want people calling me that would be the thing.
Yeah. Stop wolfing.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It just doesn't. Just wolf. Maybe just something wolf. That's what I would go with. Okay, what
And
has
also,
it been?
So actually, when I was growing up, I wanted to be called Rex, short for T-Rex. But I thought of this recently, actually, before I saw this article. It would have to be hoof-hearted and Bob Loblaw.
blah
So-
blah blah.
Or if somebody's asking to be hoof-hearted, hoof-hearted, come over here, hoof-hearted.
This reminds me, a friend of mine has a dog named Mother. So she goes to the park and her dog's running around and it's like, Mother, come here, Mother, leave that kid alone, Mother. Don't pee over there, Mother.
They were just wanting to troll people, it sounds like.
Oh, 1000%.
That's great. Well, that's
Wow.
I guess good to know. If you want to be called literally anything else, then I guess it's already taken. But keep trying. Go back to the drawing board. Maybe come up with
But
another.
the bright side is that if you can't be called literally anything else, you can still be called literally anything else.
This is
So-
true.
True. Swap.
That works. All right. Well, thank you for that, Ben. That's as always very instructional and informative for all of us to know. But we want to open this up to Hugo. So we mentioned Instagram, but where can people find you and your terrific artwork?
Yeah, I think Instagram will probably be the easiest place to find me. HugoP.arts. I'm also on Kara Social. It's a pretty cool new platform that is very artist friendly. That we're trying to build a community over there, and Hugo Artworks over there. But also I am on Twitter or X or however you want to call that. I do have a YouTube channel that has very few videos there. But every now and then I sometimes, very seldomly post something. And same thing on Twitch. I have a Twitch channel, and once in a blue moon, it's hard to line up. I do a lot of freelance work that I can't, draw live because of non-disclosure agreements. But and to that point, I'm making some art for a locally made indie game called Rara Boom that should be releasing in September. So look up on Steam, wishlist it, and you'll be able to see some of my art and some of the art and game that this awesome team at Guiley is putting together.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. That's very interesting. And again, we love your artwork, so I could totally see that in a game too. So
Thanks.
I'll have to be sure to check that out. Well, we'll make sure we also do our due diligence. So, Ben, where can people find us at?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Make sure you follow us on TikTok. We have exclusive sightings of Batman, so stay tuned for more to come. We're at Twitter, or X, as they say, at Stash and Joe. And check out our new website on ladxmedia.com/mustaches and coffee. And if you have any questions for me and Isaac, you can email us at mustachesandcoffee@yahoo.com. That's what we got.
Great. Thank you for that, Ben. And once again, we're just going to say thank you, Hugo, for joining us. We had such a great time. It was a blast. Welcome back anytime. We'll love to have you back on and get updates on your art and where it's going. But thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So with that being said, like we always say, don't bash the stash.
I need espresso for the depresso.
Goodbye, everybody.